This episode of the Bottle Rocket podcast is brought to you by Game Eclipse TV.
Welcome to the broadcast, bros.
Hi guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the Bottle Rocket podcast with me, Chris.
Me, Ben.
Me, the Mance.
I just want to start this podcast off by giving a huge thanks to Game Eclipse TV for supporting the podcast. Check them out at gameeclipse.tv, where you can play, watch, and share videos of all your gaming exploits on a really neat website that the guys have built. Get over there and check it out. So, E3.
Yes.
E3.
That's what we're talking about this week, in
Indeed.
all its forms.
And glory, let's not forget.
And glory, and
Downers.
there's a slight bit of disappointment, but we'll get onto that. So, I mean, did you guys watch much of it live, or have you been catching up over the last day or two?
Catching up
Yeah.
on the pre-recorded stuff, reading a few blogs about it, catching on like social media, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I think for me it's mainly been catch up. I was following the Microsoft and the E3 conferences live. Unfortunately, I didn't watch the Sony one, but it was on at 2 a.m. our time, so it was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, no,
Sony fanboy.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, I've got a certain allegiance, yes, but I've not that. I've
But
not
not a 2 a.m. in the morning allegiance.
Yeah, not that strong an allegiance when you've got to be up early anyway. So yeah, no, I've been really enjoying it.
So I mean, we'll start on the Microsoft presentation.
Yeah.
That's the first. Boo, Sony. I mean, they're probably not going to get the best time in this podcast because you've got 3 Sony boys talking about it. But you know, we'll be as fair as possible, I think.
Well, no.
Right, let's talk about PlayStation 4. Yeah, that was Xbox done. Move on.
No, so Phil Spencer came out. He's the head of Xbox to start off the show, and I mean, he stated from the off that it was going to be all about games. Which, I mean, looking down my list of notes, it's pretty much all about the titles that are coming out over the next 6 to 18 months. And looking at it, it's very heavy on established IPs. You know, you're looking at, you've got, I mean, the trailer for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare and the gameplay looked fantastic. But again, it's
got me worried. That game.
It's got you worried. How come?
Worried. It does. Well, I've played every single Call of Duty since ever come out, probably. I don't think it's the right way to go with Advanced Warfare. Something about it is not pushing the buttons for me. Like, just go back to old school Call of Duty, simple gameplay, really, really well made. That's all it should be. Simple and
Yeah,
too much like Battlefield.
I suppose, but I mean, it's got to evolve. I mean, they spent a lot of time in the World War II period, and then they've moved up. I mean, perhaps they could have spent a lot more time modern day. But I mean, you've got Battlefield that's competing for that now. So I don't know, where do you take it?
Well, I mean, if you look at EA's response, though, you know, EA have taken. Arguably, they shouldn't have used the Battlefield franchise, but Hardline is it's still within the shooter genre, but it's sort of a new take, you know, cops and robbers. It's the same kind of thing, red versus blue. It's always going to be that sort of gameplay, but it's a new take. I had a good idea. I thought that with the Call of Duty series, you know, they've got a lot of time invested with World War II. They could have had like a full time spanning sort of venture in the series where you start in World War II and you know, the storyline plays out across the ages. I thought that would be pretty cool. I don't really like a lot of future-based games. I just think it's a bit sort of lame sci-fi when they're not properly developed.
Yeah, and it's easier to sort of bypass decent plot by saying, you know, oh, this machine does this. And you know, you can just sort of. It's easier to build a story around things you can make up rather than actual events. But
yeah, of course.
But looking at the actual trailer itself, it's a good looking game.
Oh yeah, of course.
Really smooth, really polished. And I mean, Call of Duty have always done fantastic set piece work for me. in all, both the studios that have taken Call of Duty games, all the set pieces.
This is technically the third studio that's taken it on. This is Sledgehammer, so this is their first actual Call of Duty game now.
They made anything interesting in the past as well that you know of?
Sledgehammer Games.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything. Nothing comes to mind. The name of the company is familiar, but I don't know if that's
the grand task in doing Call of Duty.
Well, I know that they worked with Treyarch on, I think, the multiplayer for Black Ops or Black Ops 2. So they've worked on the COD engine for a while.
Yeah.
Well, they did Modern Warfare 3.
Were they on that as well?
And the silence interest is worrying. Did Modern Warfare 3?
I must admit I didn't get very far through Modern Warfare 3 for reasons unknown to myself, to be honest. I loved the Modern Warfare series. I just never really got around to it. I just don't think I felt the buzz.
The series just worn dry, to be fair, after a while. Sorry, Chris, by the way.
No, okay. So looking at the other titles that they've got there, you've got Forza Horizon 2.
Yeah.
Looks sweet.
Looks like a significant sort of step in the right direction, although I don't believe it's being made by the same company. Or no, sorry, I've got my facts wrong there. That someone else is making the 360 version of Horizon 2. That's what it was.
We've also got Rise of the Tomb Raider, which, judging by the trailer, takes place after the events of the previous Tomb Raider. And for me, I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan. I think it's got to be a considerable improvement on the last game.
You not enjoyed the last game?
It was a good game. It just wasn't a good Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I'd probably stick with you on that one.
Yeah, I can see what you mean with that. I do think the game's sort of deserved of a sequel, though.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a great project, and the whole feel of it was a great game, but it didn't feel like Tomb Raider for me. But I'm a fan of the series,
biased.
So I'm slightly biased. Moving on from there, we've got Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
To be fair, I think looks-wise, fantastic, and the era, sort of 1800s in Paris. When you looked at what they did with Renaissance Italy, and that was on old hardware. That was fantastic.
Beautiful.
And this game looks fantastic. And
I love the way the multiplayer looks. The multiplayer angle on it, I think it looks like they could do some really interesting stuff with that.
Oh yeah, it's about time that Assassin's Creed had some sort of co-op function. It was crying out for that when you're building your Brotherhood of Assassins in the last few games. I was always thinking, wouldn't it be just awesome if me and Mance could drop in together and take on specific missions.
And now you can.
Yeah, well,
that's gonna be awesome.
Now they've made it so. It's definitely one I'm going to be watching. I must admit, I've not played Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, but it's on my hit list to play within the next few months. So,
now, Halo Master Chief Collection. How far can Microsoft push the Master Chief? Really?
Well, he is the last remaining Spartan, so probably he'll milk them until the teats come off. I think it's a good idea. The Halo Anniversary Edition was really good. They've given Halo 2 the Anniversary Edition treatment as well.
Yeah.
And I imagine they've sort of slightly remastered Halo 3 and 4 to fit higher frame rate and higher resolution. So it'll look a bit shinier.
Yeah, it's all going to be in 1080p as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that something? Looking at all the Microsoft titles that they've produced, they're all coming over in 1080p. But the external developers, are they having trouble getting that resolution? Because a lot of the other games seem to be running in lower settings.
Yeah, there's been a lot of uproar of this in the first sort of stages of this generation, with regards to the consoles. Not just Microsoft, to be fair, the PlayStation 4 as well. Although it is the more powerful hardware, it is running titles at a higher frame rate and a higher resolution. Neither of them are really hitting 1080p 60 benchmark that everybody is expecting. Microsoft in particular, they've had some really odd resolutions, and I mean, I think one game displays at like 768p and another one's 832. I mean, you might as well just cut the crap and round it up. Yeah. Sony Battlefield 4 on PlayStation 4 is 900p, 60 frames supposedly on in multiplayer. That's sort of fair enough. It's like halfway to full HD, but it's just one of these things. They've now removed Kinect as well from the console. At least remove the essential need to sort of sap resources from the console. So maybe it'll have some impact, but we'll see.
We'll see. So that Master Chief Collection, that comes with obviously your Halo 1 and 2 anniversary editions, 3, 4. You get 4,000 gamer score just for buying it. That's a bit. That's
Yeah.
I'm sure people will pay the money. Some people will pay the money just to get the 4,000 gamer score.
It's like me buying DLC. Whee.
Yeah, but you also get the Nightfall series, which is currently in production. It's the live action. Is it live action or is it animated? I'm not sure.
I think it might be live action.
But Ridley Scott's producing that anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the live action one.
And then you'll also get a beta pass for Halo 5 Guardians in that. So
yeah, they're really packing that one full of content. To be honest,
it's a fantastic bundle for any Halo fan.
For 4 games, 4 great games. A live action TV show that's being produced exclusively for Xbox and entry to the beta for arguably the next biggest Xbox One title coming out. So if you don't buy that and as an Xbox One console owner, then I think you're probably making a bit of a mistake, to be honest.
Yeah, even the Guardians is probably just worth buying for the beta key.
Yeah, probably.
That looks crazy.
And then,
not being a Halo fan, it's still, I'd get it. And I've never played any Halo before, to be fair. It looks interesting to me.
Yeah, and then the last
I've never played on.
The other established IP that they talked about was Fable Legends, and that looks really interesting. You got the 4-way multiplayer on that. Multiplayer seems to be a very for all the developers. It seems to be something that a lot of people are getting behind at the moment, and co-op more than deathmatch.
I was going to say co-op more than competitive. It seems to be the way to go. I think as you say, a lot of the big game developers nowadays are latching on to the fact that people don't necessarily like to directly
faces off.
Yeah, they don't always like to directly compete with one another. Maybe you like to work together, or at least work towards the same cause while having a little bit of friendly competition. It's not always about who can quick scope and get the most headshots kind of thing.
So Fable Legends, it's looking smart. It's looking, it looks like it handles really well, and the character design looks like it relies on teamwork. And did you see the short video about the villain mode in that?
I didn't. I read about it, and it sounds like an interesting concept, kind of sort of turning it on its head a little bit.
Yeah, so it's basically on the same sort of thing as Evolve, which we'll get to shortly, where you've got your four players playing together, and one guy's playing against them.
Yeah,
and that that looks pretty smart. The video on that did look smart.
It's a very smart idea, but it's a risky idea, man. Because what other game titles tried that?
No. Well, let's talk a bit about Evolve, because I've been watching some of the gameplay from this game, and it looks spectacular.
Backseat monster.
I can honestly say I've not really followed that game, so you'll have to sort of enlighten me.
4-on-1 action. You play a 4-player team with individual abilities,
classes.
Yeah, different classes, and your role is to hunt the monster, which is played by the 5th player. Now, over time, the monster's going to start off trying to evade you and get away from you while you're hunting it. But over time, he's going to evolve and get bigger and stronger. So eventually, the hunters become The Hunted.
The Hunted. Yeah. That sounds like actually a really good concept.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And just from the few clips that it played where the monster was absolutely obliterating the whole team.
Yeah,
it's like the size of Godzilla. It was just like, whoa.
It does look
good.
Yeah,
it looks very.
Yeah, can't wait to see more from that.
Strange.
See, that reminds me a little bit of multiplayer gameplay in Aliens versus Predator. But it's kind of the reverse, where one person starts as the alien. It's an infestation mode. One person starts as the alien, and then slowly but surely infects everybody else until there's one man left standing. That you know, it's similar kind of thing. That's pretty cool, though. Pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Sunset Overdrive.
Certainly looks stylish and colourful.
In my notes here, I've just got fast, cool, and funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems a very good idea for a.
The trailer was good. It was nice to see a sort of a new take on the trailer, let alone the gameplay itself, because it was funny, it was entertaining, and it showed off the game really well.
Yeah, I like the whole sort of point of the game is like making traversal fun, so that you can like travel from one end of the city pretty quickly, doing sort of cool stuff, grinding and what have you. It's just, you know, it's just making the same established sort of tropes in games more interesting. As obviously it's not a revolution in gameplay, but those kind of evolutions are the ones that are appreciated probably the most. So
yeah, definitely.
It's still uncharted territory at this point. Whether it'll do well, we don't know, but it looks pretty good from where we're at now.
Definitely. And the last bit I want to look at on the Microsoft side is Project Spark. Which again, I mean, to me it looks like Minecraft on speed. the whole create and share sort of element and building levels.
It was appealing, very appealing.
It looks really good.
It's kind of Microsoft's answer to Little Big Planet, just a generation late. Yeah,
definitely. But I mean, the way the trailer brings it across looks quite interesting.
Yeah.
There's obviously Idea Xbox, which we're going to be looking at next week on the next podcast, where we're going to be looking more at indie developers. So we're not forgetting about that. But with the timescale, we need to move on to Sony and get talking about them.
Yeah.
The big S.
The big S. So they open with Destiny.
Yeah. Can't argue with Destiny.
Really strong looking trailer for that.
Well, I mean, when you know it's coming from Bungie, you know they've got a pedigree developer. You know, we've just talked about Halo. You know, the game that was the foundations for that were built by Bungie. You know, that's one of the biggest selling IPs probably in history. So
it does sort of shock me that Sony are getting the exclusive on that after Bungie has spent so long working with Microsoft.
Yeah,
is that purely is that purely down to the hardware that's available, or does money talk?
No, I think it's probably a few things. You know, if we're talking about hardware available, then you know PC is where it's at. They've got nobody that they can really partner up with though on PC. So you know they're going to look at the console developers, and I think there's probably a little bit of sour grapes between Bungie and Microsoft, since you know they had at one point showed clear interest and intention on working on something new, and Microsoft were like, no, you know, we want you to carry on doing Halo. So that's probably why they broke away.
Yeah.
But I think obviously Sony have sort of welcomed all developers with open arms with the PS4, and you know it's just probably a better environment. But yeah, I'm sure there's some money involved as well.
Yeah. It shows that open arms with all the small little indie games that
it's not
wild and started showing.
It wasn't just them. It was everybody. You know, when the PS4 was developed, they went to a lot of top developers and basically said, "What do you want from a console?" And then they attempted to build the middle ground, and that's what the PS4 is. So I'm sure Bungie were one of those guys that sort of said, "Yeah, we want this to create this amazing game," and Sony have obliged.
Well, I think that really that set the stage for the Sony press conference. You know, starting with a new IP, Andrew House came out, the Sony president, and started talking about the new games that were coming, and then they went on to the Order 1866, a gameplay trailer from that, which, I mean, for me,
looks absolutely crazy.
It looked like they're going for the cinematic experience rather than just an all-out action game. What do you think?
I think that it's definitely like these next-gen games are all lacking some sort of like cinematic game that just tests the graphics that they can pull. Like nothing. Fair enough, there's games out there that can test the graphics to the max, like I don't know, Battlefield and whatever. But when you've got cinematic in there as well, and you put your pad down and just watch, it feels like it's that much better knowing it's a game. To me, anyway.
I think at this point it'd be unfair to say that there's nothing out there because we're still early days. But it's very encouraging at this stage in the console generation to be seeing titles like The Order, which, as you say, is like blending cinematography with gameplay. The perfect transition between the gameplay itself and then into the sort of cutscenes using the same engine. There's no bells and whistles added. Everything that you see, details exist still when you were playing the game. It's that sort of all-in-one feeling. I think they've sort of taken a little bit of because the guys that are making it, Ready at Dawn, they worked with Sony Santa Monica because they made the God of War titles for PSP. So I imagine they had some access to Santa Monica when they made God of War 3, which is one of the best looking games on the PlayStation 3. In fact, one of the best looking games last generation, full stop. And you've got the likes of Uncharted, which is a similar kind of thing. There's a lot of action set pieces, but that's kind of integrated and cinematic in a way as well. And the Order looks like it just blends all these elements together. I think another really appealing thing about it as well is the fact that it's a sort of steampunk game. It's something that isn't explored very much in mainstream gaming. I'm sure there's a lot of smaller titles out there that appeal to people that like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a massive fan group for steampunk.
Yeah, and I just think it looks cool, and I'm definitely going to keep in watch of that one. It's a bit unfortunate it's been delayed to 2015 because that was sort of one of Sony's big tentpole titles for the end of this year. But if a delay means that the game is extra special, then that's what it's got to be.
So then we saw the Far Cry 4 trailer, which looked incredible.
Yeah.
I sat there in awe of just.
It was pretty spectacular, to be fair. I think
wasn't the word.
I think I got a massive nerd bone at the point when the car went off the cliff and then you were wingsuiting your way down the mountainside. It was absolutely fucking insane.
That was really awesome. The big thing for me though was when Adam Boyes announced that your PSN friends can join you in the game even if they don't own a copy of the game.
Yeah, I mean, what is that?
That is a massive announcement.
That is crazy, And supposedly, it for the time being, that's a PlayStation exclusive feature, and I think that that's going to pretty much nail Microsoft to the wall for sales on Far Cry 4.
Definitely.
What can Microsoft announce that's going to be any bigger than that? Might as well just quit. Yeah, we're not going to sell it because we're just going to do rubbish.
I mean, it's not to discredit the game itself. It's going to be amazing on all platforms, but I think that's the fact that your friends didn't have to own the game.
Moving on from that though, there was Dead Island 2, the trailer for that.
Oh, that looked beautiful. Zombies in the middle of LA.
Yeah.
What more do you want?
It's the first proper sequel as well, isn't it? Really, to the Dead Island.
Yeah, I mean, Riptide was just a carry on like DLC.
Yeah, it was like an aside rather than an actual sequel.
Then they talked about Grim Fandango, which got the crowd going.
It's something like 15 years since the initial release. 15 years later, it's getting released on consoles.
Hugely popular game.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of the game that made Tim Schafer, really, Yeah,
definitely.
So
even if he did have to pose like a 12-year-old girl to get his letter in, Then they started talking about Devolver Digital and them helping out. Oh yeah, Devolver Digital. I can't even speak. Devolver Digital helping out indie devs, bringing out titles, which we'll get onto that next week when we talk about indie development in depth a bit more. Abzu was next, if that's how you pronounce it.
I think so.
Diving game from Giant Squid.
I did this bit. I skipped through, and I was quite interested in what it was. To be fair, I thought it was Octodad for some reason. I don't know why.
No, Octodad's a slightly different game.
Yeah, a bit different.
After that, No Man's Sky from Hello Games. There was a big piece on that, and that for me, that's my highlight from E3, because that game looks incredible in scale, in design. It just looks really interesting. But we'll get onto that a bit later. Then Sean Layden came out, and he started talking about the YouTube channel integration and the spectator mode sessions.
This got interesting there.
You know what I mean? It's about time, honestly, that we had YouTube integration on PlayStation 4. Not that, the features that they've given us aren't already pretty damn cool, but I think not having YouTube from the word go was probably the biggest the biggest letdown, I think, from an otherwise pretty amazing product.
Definitely, and with the ability to upload straight to your channel. With the touch of a button, it's going to be massive. There was also talk around that point about the PlayStation camera, Project Morpheus, and then the big push on free-to-play games.
There's going to be quite a few, isn't there?
I see Loadout in one of them trailers somewhere. Yeah, as well.
Loadout's coming to PS4, which is a favourite with us here at Bottle Rocket. That one is. War Thunder, Valiant Hearts, to name a few of the other ones.
A lot of the top free-to-players as well, to be fair. Could be good.
Yeah, definitely. PlayStation Now, the open beta, is available in the US and Canada from July 31st. Which, I mean, when that gets rolled out, that's definitely going to boost Sony up a bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I have heard that you need a pretty rapid internet connection to actually get the most out of that. Otherwise, it can be a little bit skittish when you're playing along. Because
obviously you're playing the games cloud-based, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're going to need that instant feedback from your sort of control inputs to be able to make the most of that. But faster connections are becoming more of a mainstay in general day-to-day life anyway. I mean, gone are the days of 56k.
Yeah. Yes. And praise that it may be staying that way forever.
56k on PS4. Yes.
Damn. Sony TVs will play the PlayStation back catalogue via PS Now.
Yes.
That's another massive announcement.
It's pretty large. I'm thinking that Sony have got their heads screwed on. They know where they're going. The ability to sort of just fire up,
fire up your Sony TV with your DualShock 3, and then you can play.
And then you just Uncharted 2. You've got Uncharted 2 streaming. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially for people who say aren't big gamers, and you might pay something like £10 a month for PlayStation Now, but all you've literally got to do is sort of just flick an app on your TV, and then you can just stream these sort of amazing quality games. Oh, it's just unreal.
And talking about people who aren't big into gaming, Sony Pictures are developing exclusive content just for PSN, and it's starting with the Brian Michael Bendis graphic novel Powers being turned into a series.
Yeah, what's that one? Is that about detectives investigating the deaths of superheroes?
Yeah,
that sounds epic.
And that's been developed exclusively for PSN, along with a number of other titles that are in development. So you can have PSN exclusives for TV shows. and they'll all be free to watch for PSN subscribers.
Yeah.
So
just the more and more positives being added to the PlayStation Plus experience.
If you didn't already need PlayStation Plus with like the epic giveaways they give you each month on free games, it's just like a really must now with this.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
I mean, just to mention PS Plus, they've just announced that they've rebalanced that, so you're now getting 2 games free on every platform every month. So, I mean, up to now, it's been all sort of indie titles coming out on PS4, as if you didn't need a reminder that PS4 was supporting indies. I'm pretty sure soon we're going to see some of the bigger titles coming out as well. So, PlayStation Plus just keeps on giving, man.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that rounded up a really good, strong press conference for Sony.
Whoa, no, wait a minute. You're missing one fine detail.
Go on.
At the very end of the conference.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Trailer for Uncharted 4, which, as
didn't that come slightly after another bit of gameplay? From Batman.
Oh shit!
I just forget. Biggest 3 Sony fanboys, and we forget.
Well, I didn't know which. I'd forgotten which conference that the gameplay had came out of by this point. Yeah, the Arkham Knight gameplay that absolutely blew my socks off.
Iron Man for a start.
And through the wall.
They put armor on.
Yeah, the man's pretty stacked in this game. I mean,
weird.
I don't know anybody who could watch that gameplay video and not instantly pre-order the game, because it just looks absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it looks. I've never played any Batman in my life, but this one might be the first.
I mean, regardless, even if you've played the games in the series before, I mean, he just sort of suits up and then integrates from the little cutscene. He jumps off the window. He's flying around the city just like a bad man, not Batman, bad man. It's amazing.
Did look smart. And then obviously that was followed up by the teaser for Uncharted 4, which has got every Sony fan standing on their seats applauding.
And it's all the footage from that was recorded from in-engine, so we can expect pretty much the game to be looking like that. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but I mean, I watched the trailer in high def later on, and Nathan Drake's, his arms got details of veins, and you can almost see like the skin pattern. It's just unreal.
Yeah, I mean, those games have always been good to look at.
Oh, hell
yeah. Now utilising the full power of the PlayStation 4, it's just going to be awesome.
They also announced the GTA 5 re-release on the next-gen consoles. They announced it during Sony's conference, and then hours later said it was on Xbox One and PC. So I think that tantalised quite a few Sony games as well.
Didn't PlayStation announce DLC with that GTA as well? Or where have I seen that?
No. Up to now, there's been no additional GTA 5 downloadable content announced, other than the sort of releases that they're doing steadily over time, which is like, extra weapons and clothing and whatnot for online.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, Sony had the stronger overall conference there. It was well rounded. It wasn't just about the titles that are coming out. It seemed more like a business plan for the future.
It seemed more about Sony in general than PS4.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's you've got to be looking at that.
Not where Xbox say just Xbox One gaming. That's all they wanted to speak about.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, to be fair though, Microsoft had a lot of catching up to do. They had to bring the games this time because they absolutely messed up the announcement of the Xbox One, and the E3 last year was a shambles as well. And this year, they've had a lot of shake-ups. They've decided to basically sort of follow Sony now. Their Games with Gold is the exact same format that Sony's is. They've ditched Kinect, so the console is sort of trying to gain a bit more ground against the PlayStation 4. They've matched the price. They've talked about the games. They couldn't really do much more to copy Sony if they tried, apart from change the name to Sony.
Sony X.
Yeah, so I mean, as a bit of an overall feel from both of the presentations, it comes across like the modern battle is over exclusive content on games, because from what it seems, exclusive IPs are becoming rarer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that new IPs are going to be something that we'll start developing in the next year or two when there's a higher installed base for the new consoles. But I mean, if you look at the amount of sales generated from 6 months of these consoles being on sale, they've smashed all records of the old consoles. So I think the chances that we're going to get new IP, sooner are pretty high.
So looking at the time now, I think we have to wrap this up. Next week we're going to be talking about indie developers and where they sit in the current gaming climate, and the sort of idea Xbox and Devolver and how different companies are looking at helping them along. So join us next week for that. As far as this week goes, I've been Chris.
I've been Ben.
I've been the Mont.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.
See you later.
See you guys.